Welcome back. My next guest is Nestor Aparicio. Nestor knows that's my today's segment. He knows best. He's been out there traveling, doing great things. Nestor, welcome in.
Good to be aboard. Happy New Year to you and everyone in your community, my community, our community around here. Big week, right? Big week for football this weekend. I'll be thinking about that by the time we get to Sunday night. But
yeah,
great holiday. Man who saved my wife's life has been here the last 3 days from Germany with his wife, and New York and cold and Santa and tons. Man, you and I got to talking about the Greek pastries. Well, I got some panettone. Then my wife goes to this bakery up in Vermont. And like next thing I know, I got chocolate for a month here. So I'm going to need to pull it.
Well, you still look to be in very good shape, thin, trims, and in good shape, unlike the rest of us who are fighting the treadmill these days. I didn't even wait until January 1st to get on my diet. But hey, great stuff. As you mentioned, Pittsburgh Steelers week. It's always a big week, at least for the team. The team seems very much focused, unlike the fan base who's all over the place, whether it's Lamar Jackson or Greg Roman or John Harbaugh. The hate is just unbelievable. Ravens Twitter is certainly on fire.
Yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with this concept, over the course of time. And my buddy Mark Miller from Blondell Miller law firm over in Essex always says, you got into this business, you must like to argue. And I'm like, you've never met me if you think I'm enjoying arguing with people that don't know a whole lot on Twitter or think they know more than they do in certain cases. I would say this, and this is something Marvin Lewis taught me really early on, and something that them throwing me out makes them even dumber than I already think they are for throwing me out, because I'm one of the few people that can explain this to people. But, Marvin would always say, you guys on the radio and TV and with the newspaper and what, the columnists are writing and what they're talking about on ESPN, he's like, that if you're a good coach, that has nothing to do with in the building.
It's
the only thing in the building that matters
is
it's 3rd and 8. Steelers are on the field. What defense are we in? What's personnel? What's alignment, assignment, technique? Those are the 3 things. Alignment, assignment, technique. That's it. If you've got that and you're healthy, right, and you take care of your body, I'm starting to sound like a football coach, but this is what they're telling the guys all week. Now, that can't stop Marlowe or Patrick Queen or Lamar Jackson from going out. They threw me off Twitter a month ago, Dennis, and I'm going to write about this into the new year. Greatest thing that ever happened to me was getting banned as a journalist from Twitter. It happened the day that I wrote the Lamar Jackson, which is a little dubious. The day I wrote the Lamar Jackson letter, I was thrown off of Twitter personally. And I'm going to tell you, like the last month, I hear a lot less noise. I'm getting more work done. I'm writing a great column.
So you're not on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter. You know what I mean?
I got you.
I'm not married to Twitter.
No, I got you.
They threw me off. Right. So, I mean, I use the WNST Twitter for sports and whatever, but like I wrote to them 3 times. I said, here's who I am. I even offered to pay the $8 a month for the blue check mark, thinking, well, it's $8 a month and it might, be like a newspaper subscription. Right. You know what I mean? Like, who am I calling at Twitter?
See, and I have an Android, so we don't have that option. It's not, I can't get that blue check mark on Android yet, which I look forward to getting eventually, but that's odd. Have the Ravens blocked you on Twitter as well? Have they blocked your account?
I don't know whether they reported. I have no.
You don't care, right? You don't care.
All I know is it's been about 4 weeks since I wrote whenever the Lamar piece happened, I got banned. That was a Thursday morning. You. So it's 28 days ago. How about that?
Well, you're not missing much, put it to you that way.
It has been a productive 28 months. I'm working on my columnist for this week, so maybe you can help me a little bit, all right?
Sure, absolutely.
No one believes in the football team, right? Like, so I mean, and that, like, no matter what you think, here's how I know, and I'm going to do a little screen share with you right now. And Dennis, because, you have to give me the ability to do that. You can't do it. There are playoff tickets are on sale. They're on sale. You go to Ticketmaster right now for $119, buy all the playoff tickets you want. They've been sending me emails for weeks about buy the PSL that they pretty much demanded back from me that went away, quite frankly. I can go buy my old seat back, give them $500 for the rights then, so I can have the right to buy playoff tickets for playoff games that probably might not, maybe not, could though, could. I mean, what I'm writing about in columnist is, all right, they go out and stink it up against the Steelers on Sunday night, and they win 19-17 somehow. Tucker wills them a 48-yard, because Marlon Humphrey strips a ball or whatever, right? They win, beat a bad team, in an unimpressive fashion, which is something that's been a trend here for 6-7 weeks, right? Other than the Cleveland game, that no one believed. They're 10-5.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of another 10-5 team I've ever seen in the city where they would put playoff tickets on and they would just sit there for days.
Yeah, the buzz, for lack of a better term, just isn't there for the team. There's negative buzz on social media. The only good thing is when you listen to the players, Tyler Linderbaum, Roquan Smith, J.K. Dobbins, they believe, right? They believe that as constructed, they can win. But it's been a long time since I've seen such negativity surrounding a 10-5 team. If you didn't know better, you think this team was 5-10.
Yeah, and all these places that are 7-8 and 8-7 and wherever they are, and they think that they're going to be the 6th seed or the 7th seed. I mean,
they're excited. They're
dude,
excited
the
about
Jets
getting
fans
in.
would go nuts if they backed into the
They're
playoffs, right?
excited, right? They're excited about backing into the playoffs, and the buzz about the speculation about Lamar Jackson. I mean, come on now. We don't know until we know. People make up stories. They try to read into social media. Hollywood Browns, he's in Arizona and he's in his ear. Well, Arizona, last time I checked, was 4-11. I think it's a cautionary tale for players that chase the money versus playing for the right organization, Nestor.
It's very, very hard to say to Lamar Jackson, kid, you haven't won anything. And you'll say, there's my Heisman. There's my big house. You want to see my money? You want to see what I did for my mom? I have a statue in Louisville. It's won one playoff game in this league, right? I'm in the Dundalk High Hall of Fame, right? I'm not in the Maryland Broadcasters Hall of Fame, right? So there's a whole different level of how you feel about yourself and how self-important you feel, My name's Nestor Aparicio, not Chad Steele, right? So, I've been put in my place. I'm just at the end of the bar, right? Like all of us, right? And all of these messages that I can promise you from the inside, the arrogance that you smell, that you have smelled as a businessman doing business with them, as a fan, that they have Marcus Williams out getting $100 for autographs. I don't know who's lining up for this, and I don't know where that fan base is that used to come to the barn. I see these people out all the time. Every one of them has one thing in common, and I'm not being mean, Dennis. Every person I run into, I had a guy come up to me in front of the White House. I was in front of the White House with a hoodie on. I said to Jen, he recognized you. He didn't recognize me because, I didn't. I said he saw the tall German guy, maybe follows us online, and he was very respectful. But he came up, nasty Nestor, and Baltimore accent, and I'm thinking all of these people have a story.
They do.
Last week, a guy Conrad's was very sweet to me, came up to me, and he's the one that said, has Lamar played his last game? And he said to me, I went on a trip with you years ago. We went to New England. I'm like, which one? Because there were 10 of them, right? Or Pittsburgh. Which one? There were 15 of them, right?
Which year? You would know.
The one where Bolden dropped the ball, the one where we won, the one where Heap, the one where, everybody's got a story, right? And all of them, the one thing they all have in common is I literally say this to them now because I'm getting a little burred up. I've talked to too many lawyers and I've talked to people. I get a little burred up and I said, you still go to the games? No, I don't go to the games anymore.
They still watch on TV.
Right.
They don't go to the games, right? They don't go to the games.
And the why, I can give you a checklist. Starting with price, convenience, TV's better, cold out, great of the city, right? We start with that one if you wish, if you watch Fox, whatever, you know what I mean? Wherever your argument would be on it, you can find a reason to not go to the Ravens wild card playoff game next week. Well, when they win the division, right? They have to win the division at this point. So they would have to win too for these tickets to even matter. And if they do, we get to go down there and they get to decide whether it's Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, or Monday night. Once you buy the ticket, you're in, right? Whether you got babysitters, church, fishing in your case, where you ice fishing in your case with John Harbaugh.
Look, Nestor, I'll be there Sunday night. Much to my chagrin, I was looking forward to a 1 o'clock game, and I have to tell you, I'm not happy that they moved the game to 8:20 because I'm usually in bed by 9 o'clock. So 8:20, I've got to take a three-hour nap Sunday.
Get a nap in, get some milk and cookies.
I've got to get some milk and cookies, but it's a consideration when you're approaching 60 and you're working 12-hour days, 14-hour days. It's a consideration, it really is. But I already have tickets and I'm going, and I'm happy to be going, and I'm looking forward to the matchup.
Here's the thing I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask this all off season because they have forced me to care less to some degree, to be less invested.
Naturally, sure, they have.
It's the most bizarre. I was here on the radio on this dial for 5 years begging to get a football team before the team ever happened. So I mean, I have a different perspective on this, but the purple flamingos on the lawn, Purple Friday, purple. I love purple. My purple basement. Ray Lewis is my family. Ed Reed is my family. I met John Ogden at the barn. He was a great guy. He's big. He's Andre the Giant.
You bleed purple. You bleed purple. You bled purple. You have. Out of anybody that I know, you see. It's one thing.
I have cried when they've lost.
Absolutely,
and I have cried when they've won.
Hey, what were you doing? What were you doing?
I will never do that again. Right?
But what were you doing with Billy?
That's what they've done to me.
When Billy Cundiff shanked that field goal, what were you doing?
I was in the corner of the press box, watching the ball line up. I saw the fans.
Yep.
I saw the fans rise, and my head sunk.
In that moment.
It was one of the worst moments of my life. I mean, I had Indianapolis set up. I had hotels. I had 14 buses. I lost a lot of money. I lost life-altering money, quite frankly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. I sat there in silence with my son in our basement for half an hour. We didn't say a word to each other. We were just stunned.
I was in the locker room when Lee Evans was in the corner.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I saw Lee Evans in the corner of that
how do you fire a person like that? How do you dismiss? It's not like you're dismissing, you're firing your worst customer, right? Somebody who MFs you on social media, somebody who's, pickets you, somebody who
it's so personal.
It's one thing to do that. It's one thing, but how do you fire one of your biggest and best advocates in the history of your organization? How do you do that?
Well, they did, and I'm not the only one.
It's beyond me.
Nobody's not going. You love me. You sponsor me. We're friends, like in the real world. You're still giving them money and going to the. I'm not telling anybody to not give them money.
I hear you. No, exactly.
Whatever. I don't think anybody. And Brian Billick was the first to say nobody will care about you. And I'm like, I care about me. I'm not going to be treated like this and do it privately anymore. I've sat on this for 5 years. Now they're going to throw me out. And what am I supposed to say? How about the truth? But the truth, as it sits right now, is a lot of people care less about them. And somebody out there, if a lot of less people cared about Coons Ford or about WNST or about me or about my family, if I felt that, I would, but I'm not making $200 million. We're just, anytime I've talked to people that know, not rich people, not even wealthy people, people that have boats and yachts and planes and billions of dollars, they all say they just don't think like any of us. They can't. It's not even in their DNA to know what a gallon of milk costs. It's just, they just don't operate that way. So I just think somewhere between that guy and the guy that picks up the jocks in the locker room, right? And the guy who covers the team watching it all and witnessing it all and how everyone is treated. I didn't like the way anybody was treated in Owings Mills. This wasn't how I'm treated. It's how the media is treated. The fact that they accepted. Dennis, there were 2 people in Cleveland last week asking questions. Next week in Cincinnati, there will be 2, maybe 3 reporters asking John Harbaugh questions after these potential playoff games. It's just, I'm not on my bender about it for me, but they're a 10-5 team. And I'm not the only one that cares a little less than I used to care. And if everybody collectively cares a little less, somebody there should care a little more. And I don't sense that. I don't sense the embarrassment of having 15,000 people in the stands last week.
Again, I have no idea how many fans were there because I didn't go. It was too damn cold, and throw rocks at me if you will.
You're not invested enough. You don't care enough to sit out there when it's 20 degrees.
I'll freeze to death for a playoff game, but playing the Atlanta Falcons, no thank you. I have other things to do. I tape the game and I watch it whenever. It's the way I felt about it. I mean, I work
my wife and I, we never missed games. We always had tickets. We would have we would have been there. Well, we wouldn't have, because she was Christmas Eve and she wasn't here. I would have been there, probably in the press box, and I probably would have given my tickets to somebody that would have wanted to use them, right? But I've sat in that upper deck for 25 years. I mean, I wore purple walking up and down. I had dog biscuits thrown at me in Cleveland wearing Ravens gear. I don't, I know the upper deck, and I know how little they cared. Dennis, I bet I never told you this, and I brought this up with Mike Tomlin, Marvin Lewis, Mike Pereira, and somebody else was in the group of people. Might have been Ozzy. We were at an owners meeting, and I had the floor we were just having drinks. It was social. And I said, do you guys know what they do at the World Cup? They use this word respect and end racism and respect. Those were the two catchwords. This is 17, 18 years ago at World Cup. And I said to them, and this is in like 2006, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. I'm still sitting in the upper deck a lot. It was before, right around Twitter. When 8 and 9, when Twitter happened and I could sit in my seat and tweet, I enjoyed that part of being a reporter. But the road games, I started sitting in the press box because it felt unsafe, and I said that to them. I said to them, do you know what happens in Europe? And of course, they all live in a country club that, Eric DeCosta's making $4 million a year. He doesn't care what goes on it's not my job. Same thing he said about my press corps. Not my job. It's not what I do. Well, who does care? Who cares if the stadium's empty? Who cares about local issues? Where's their community relation? Where's their media relations people? Where's their fan engagement people other than taking the broken winged bird around and doing what they're doing? I would just say that I brought this up and said there's problems in upper decks, not just in Baltimore with Steelers fans. I see fights, I see blood, I see cops, I see lawsuits, I see someone's going to die in an upper deck. At some point, there's no trouble in the upper deck here anymore, right? I mean, am I right or am I wrong? You go to the games more often.
The upper
Being
deck
a visiting fan here is not,
no.
There's no animus, and that's maybe not
it's
a bad
hard
thing.
because you're not elbow to elbow, Nestor. There's plenty of room in the upper deck and the lower deck. I mean, the stadium is half empty or half full, depending on how you choose to look at it. So you don't have that animus because you're not elbow to elbow with the opposing team's fans anymore, or your own drunken fans for that matter. So there's more space. It doesn't
feel like that it's a bad way in that way anymore.
It's not. I've had
maybe
fans,
in Philadelphia it is if you're wearing a
maybe
Giants
in Philadelphia, but
sure, yeah.
But this year we've had fans sitting next to us from opposing teams are like, hey, you guys are pretty nice. I mean, they come to Baltimore expecting to see the Wire type of a fan base, and they're shocked that they're sitting next to decent human beings who are just there to have a good time and see a competitive match. And I mean, you can just tell after about a quarter, they're like, you guys, this is a pretty good fan base. Everybody's nice, because the expectations are they're going to get pelted with beer and get cursed at and have stuff thrown at them and get pushed and shoved and perhaps get into a fist fight.
It was not nice anywhere near Section 513. To take it 8 over and 8 the other direction, the whole upper deck of my wing, it was not pleasant if you're wearing a Browns jersey. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, the reason I had those seats down in the well, and I wrote about this a couple of months ago, was Baker Koppelman and Roy Summerhoff, who were, with the Modells and being a part of what they did. Those front row seats were not allowed to be PSL seats because they were zoned some for handicap, but there had to be like 3% of the stadium not PSL so that they could have regular tickets to sell to the population. I'm talking back when you couldn't get a ticket to the games, right? And this is what we're talking about right now. So I bought those seats every week. Offered them to you and your employees, right? They were $55, then they were $65, then they were $75, whatever they were through that course of time. And the reason I had those tickets is the Ravens and Safe Management did not want a Jack Lambert and a Ben Roethlisberger jersey down in the third row and having stuff flying at them throughout the game. It was inhospitable. I mean, it just wasn't sold out. It was a home field advantage par excellence, and I don't know how they're ever getting that back. And I don't know how places around the league, home field advantage and all that. I mean, Packers and Steelers fans, they take over every stadium. Eagles too now. I mean, because they're winning and they travel. When they go to these soft markets, I mean, Dennis, on Christmas Day, they played 3 games on Christmas Day. They played in LA, they played in Phoenix, and they played in Miami. good weather, I guess. It doesn't happen every year that Sunday falls on Christmas Day, but they just give those days away and say, well, there's no way it's going to be full.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we'll just get whoever we get. It's a made-for-television event, right?
It is.
And so the notion that old guys like you and me care how many people are in a stadium, I don't think anybody in Owings Mills cares. All they talk about is what, DeCosta would talk about. We made more money last year we've ever made.
That's all that matters, Nestor. And again, if you're Steve Bisciotti, you invested $600 million. Now your franchise is worth $4, $5, $6 million. Who knows? So billion rather.
They're saying the Commanders are $7 billion
plus the bar.
Puts the Ravens over $5 billion. That just adds $1 billion. So now the $200 million a year that I talk about is really $300 million a year. If you do the math.
It's like The Rock says, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what I think, Nestor. It's entitlement. It's comfortable, and you know what? It's not caring. And it's like in my business, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's what it comes back to. If you're going to attract more fans to your game, you got to behave differently. But 2 Super Bowls, all the playoff appearances, successful organization, Nestor. Again, it's entitlement has taken over Owings Mills for sure.
Well, I would just say this: they're 10-5. Let's get back onto the field for a minute here, because that's I can steer it in that direction as well. They should beat the Steelers. I don't know where this Lamar thing is. And I would say this is the reason they don't want reporters kicking around, because somebody out there would tell me the truth of whatever the 5 things are. Lamar's really hurt, can't get on the field. Lamar could get on the field, wants to make them suffer a little bit like he did at training camp. Lamar is the same old Lamar we've always had. That's what John was saying. Lamar's Lamar. Lamar's trying to play. Lamar's going to be Lamar.
Nope, he didn't say that in his most recent presser. When they pressed him about Lamar, he said, "I'm here to coach the guys that are here." The last time I heard a Ravens coach say that was Brian Billick in his first year when Michael McCrary was holding out, and he says, "I'm here to talk about and the players that are here to be coached." Right, so. He kind of, the tempo, the rhythm of his presser changed. Now, I know he was frustrated by being asked for the same question every week now, but who knows where this thing is going? Somebody told me, Dennis, he's not going to play again for the Ravens this year. Well, I don't know that. I knew he was in a huddle in the third quarter, cheering on his men last week. So I don't know if this thing is going with Lamar, but I think it's strange how last year it was week to week with the ankle. This year it's week to week with the knee. We don't know the truth.
Well, and the truth comes out like it does on draft day when you decide to keep the player or not. And I can add this up. Take Lamar's name out of it, okay? And if a star player for Coach Hardball in year 15 of his administration were to decide to skip out on OTAs for a week, not show up, get mouthy on the final days of OTA, so mouthy that the head coach actually was texting members of then media members about how mouthy he was getting out on Twitter, because Coach Hardball reads Nestor's tweets, or used to before I got thrown off Twitter. So then on draft night, defecates on the franchise with a WTF that he knew about ahead of time.
Yeah. Not a good look.
Then holds a sign up, which is a big middle finger to Steve Bisciotti, right? I mean, Steve Bisciotti didn't like pink pig socks with Colin Kaepernick. Steve Bisciotti doesn't like his quarterback standing in the hallway holding up a sign saying,
"No question about it. No question about it."
We're not in the WWE here. So,
although when you watch referees, you might have a different opinion. So go ahead.
Now, the franchise to some degree is held hostage either by Lamar's injury or Lamar's greatness, whatever it is, right? Because they can't win without him, right? They're not winning anything without him the next 5 weeks, right? So if there's a leverage to give me $250 million now and I'll go play next week and get you into the playoffs, but if you're not going to give me $250, then we'll just go to war in March and let's see, you'll finish 10-6 or 11-6 or whatever, and you'll lose to Buffalo, Nashville, wherever you're going to go. You need me. I'm somebody else. That dude sexually assaulted 23 chicks, and he got $250 million guaranteed. I'm Lamar Jackson. I'm just going heel, and then you're going to tag me, and we're going to go to war, and I'm going to go play for the Saints next year. So he might. I don't. Who knows? But that's the Twitter. That's one of the stories.
It is,
right? The other story is he's just too hurt to play. The other story is they're saving him for the playoffs. The other story is Coach John Hardball speak, which is Lamar's always been the same Lamar. That's out of character for Lamar to do that. So but Lamar's going to be here because we love Lamar. Lamar loves us, and we're all in this thing. Kumbaya.
He hasn't said that though. He has not said that.
Okay, well, and by the way, the Christmas card, they put a Christmas card
Saw
out
that. Yep.
on Twitter, even though I'm not on Twitter. They put a Christmas card out
Saw that.
without Lamar Jackson on it.
Yep. Well,
So if I'm writing Purple Rain 2.5 in this offseason and I'm wondering what the hell happened here, dude, when he's not on your Christmas card and you're pointing out these little Harbaugh reads at the poker table, you know, what he's saying and what he's not saying. That's why he doesn't want me around, you know, because the question pretty direct, you know. You guys having any negotiations with Lamar here in the season, or is his injury related to him playing this week, or
we're not going to get into that, Nestor.
playoffs?
We're not going to get into that right now. It's not enough. We're not going
It's
to.
not part of the narrative, right?
We're not going to talk about that. Nestor, we're not going to talk about that right now. No, we're focused on the Steelers. Next question. We're focused
Who's
on
quarterback on Sunday night, John?
We're focused on this, but we don't want to give the Steelers an upper hand and own our strategy, Nestor. That's not.
What about people gambling on the games, John? You do know
we don't worry about gambling, Nestor. We don't do that. That's not our focus on the Steelers.
We're gonna do this next week. It'll be good. It'll be
but I mean, it's Coach Cheese. But again, what do you expect him to tell you? He's not going to give away anything. It's who he is. He is Bill Belichick 2.0, as most coaches are. They're not going to give away.
And when I get thrown out as one of 3 media members that was asking questions, and he throws his hands up like Baron Mikel Cicluna after he had the brass knuckles in the corner. You know, like that. Yeah, exactly.
All great stuff, Nestor. I think I have sufficiently fired you up for our segment.
Only you get the inside. What's the last segment I'm doing for? So, by the way, I could sing, you know, a little Dan Fogelberg to you, or sing a little Guy Lombardo,
whatever,
right?
Whatever you want.
But I hope you have a beautiful and I'm, you know, my toes are tapping. You'll be out there Sunday night. I'll be here. It'll be warm.
Absolutely. God willing, anyway.
And if you think my questions wouldn't be answered anyway, that's a good way of looking at it, but that's no reason not to ask the questions.
No, I agree with you, but again, he's not going to give away any national secrets. He's not going to give away the codes, you know, the nuclear codes.
Well, the nuclear codes all come out when Lamar Jackson's either signed, tagged, happy. They're still building the offense around him in April. They're getting an offensive coordinator he likes. And Luke and I have talked at length about, like, if you're married to Lamar, you better not do what you did to Joe Flacco and bring Mark Trestman in here, you know?
Well, you know, it's clear they have an average team without Lamar. So the question is, are they going to go all in on Lamar? Is he going to go all in on them? Or, you know, both sides have to agree, right?
You have to have all in on them. That's a hell of a question.
Well, that is the question right now. Yeah. They might be all in, but he may not be. Even at a guaranteed contract, he may want to change.
Well, he would say you're not all in because I don't have a contract. So then we're not all in.
Correct.
I love you, but I don't want to marry you.
Well, when he held up that sign,
when he had girlfriends, we know all about that.
When he held up that sign and the sign said "Pay the man," I thought had they the next day given him a $250 million guaranteed contract, he'd have been happy. He would have had his contract. He would have signed.
But would he be on the field this week? Healthy?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't know that.
You can give him all the money in the world. He runs into linebackers.
Maybe so does Josh Allen. Maybe said the farmer. He got a big contract. It wasn't guaranteed though. It wasn't fully guaranteed.
I just want you to know tickets are available. They're up on my screen right now. You go to Ticketmaster.com or BaltimoreRavens.com for your playoff tickets. Get them now.
119. 119 today, probably $75 or maybe $50 on game day.
Sunday. You know, I don't.
Do you think
if they win? Hold on. If they win 2 games,
okay,
and they draw the 4:00 Saturday game, or the weather's okay and it's 54 degrees,
they can draw a 1:00 game Sunday. It's not going to be sold out. You can still get a ticket cheap that morning, if that's where you're going with this.
Totally where I'm going with this. You think so, who would they be playing?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not going to. It may sell out on paper, but the stadium still won't be full. It will not. It hasn't been.
Boy, that's heartbreaking if they're playing a playoff game and you know what I mean?
It's not going to be full. It just isn't. It's not who they've been lately. It's just there's some apathy with the fan base.
There's a DNA issue here, is what you're telling me.
DNA issue, exactly.
Ooh, all right. Well, that's you saying that, not me. But God bless you. You know, I mean, but for things to work on in 2023, they're not focused on that. They're only focused on winning a game, and that's good. That's hardball. That's where they should be.
They're focused on the Steelers. But with the players that they have available, which Lamar Jackson isn't one of them, apparently.
I probably will be writing a series of things in the offseason, but one of the things I would write is they sorely miss a Kevin Byrne. They miss a David Modell.
They
miss Dick Cass. They just miss somebody out in front saying, we're on it. We're listening.
And one more thing about Lamar. Lamar was on Twitter Wednesday, and he had posted some funny video about dad pranks, about fathers pranking their kids. So he wasn't out at practice field. He was somewhere tweeting out for the first time in a while on Twitter, dad pranks, the video. There you go. And I don't know what that means. I'm not here to translate it.
I wrote the truth about Lamar Jackson on a Thursday morning at 7 a.m. and at 10 a.m. I was thrown off of Twitter. So I literally, it's all interconnected in some way, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it because I'm a journalist.
That'll teach you, Nestor. You should learn from that.
How dare you tell the truth? How dare you ask those tough questions to
That's right. That's right. All right, man. Listen, Happy New Year to you and your family. I appreciate you and everything you do for me personally and also for our show and Baltimore Positive WNST.
And if you think they were disrespected at 10-5, wait till they're 11-5.
The beatings will continue until morale improves around here.
Well, they're going to win Sunday, so.
Hopefully. There you go. Nestor Aparicio here, 1570 AM. WNST will take a quick break and come back right after this.